the friendship is sharing deal.
Because I want one of your McNuggets.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
There's a deal for everyone at McDonald's. Get one favorite like 10-piece chicken McNuggets, a Quarter Pounder, or a Big Mac and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
To get the Crime Writers on Aftershow right now, go to patreon.com/partners in crime media.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And this week, a Crime Writers On Classic Rewind, when all of the country wanted to know who drew the dicks. We'll talk about the groundbreaking true crime satire from Netflix, American Vandal. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of the These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Kevin, remind us about when this review first came out.
All right, close your eyes and head back to the wonderful month of September 2017. Nobody had to wear masks or get shots.
You sneezed, but didn't run away.
Didn't run away.
Yes.
Democracy was well in place.
Was it? We were worried it might not be, but it was.
This came out on Netflix 8-part series, American Vandal. As you might recall, it was a satire of all kinds of true crime documentaries. It involved the story of some high schoolers investigating the crime of vandalism, where somebody drew dicks all over the cars in the parking lot. Do you remember how many dicks?
A lot of dicks.
It was a specific number.
What was the amount of dicks?
Well, you'll find out in a second here.
You know what it had?
What?
Big cello.
Had big cello. We'll hear this again in the review, but one of the things that stuck out to us at the time, and reminded me again today, was how this was a young genre, true crime, mainstream true crime, and that all of a sudden this satire identified and poked fun at all the cliches that were coming out.
All the tropes.
The tropes, the drone shots, and the
reenactments.
Yeah, exactly. All of it. And I'll just say, I wish that we had more time to talk about it. Certainly given where we have placed it on the ziggurat of true crime titles. It was a very busy episode that week. I think we were talking about Accused, and there was an update and Making a Murderer. So it took up a lot of time. So I wish that we had talked at least twice as long about it. But this really stands out as one of our favorite things that we've seen. You know what I remember about American Vandal? What? I remember that in addition to being satirical, in addition to it being, a real poke at the genre, it also has a tremendous amount of heart. Mm-hmm. The performances were really great, but there's also some real stuff in there about the problems with the criminal justice system and assuming guilt and stereotyping and all that stuff. And at the time, and we'll hear this again, you really liked the portrayal of teenagers. Yes. The honest way that it was portrayed. And what can we say? There were a lot of dick jokes. Yeah. It was American Vandal. One of my favorite genres of humor. All right. Should we take a listen? Take a listen. Double bill. We're going to be talking about now another Netflix show called American Vandal. This is a parody true crime series that wickedly satirizes everything related to the recent rise of true crime entertainment.
It's just not the way I thought things were going to go. I was going to graduate high school, get my degree in engineering. I know I didn't do it.
It is a shocking scene for Hanover High teachers today. The vandals spray painted obscene images on 27 cars.
Oh my God.
I'll never understand what's so amusing about penises.
The investigation centers on whether expelled stoner Dylan Maxwell was truly responsible for spray painting 27 dicks on teachers' cars.
Who drew the dicks?
Outside of his high school. It's both profane and insightful, and holding up its mirror to amateur sleuths, hackneyed production values, audience obsession, and yes, even the industry within the industry of reviewing true crime shows.
You mean moi?
I was a little bit worried during the show that there'd be a parody of us. There was like a moment where I was like, uh-oh.
But there was.
Yes, there totally was. All right. Now, it's easy to dismiss the joke at the center of the series as just an extended dick joke. And I think
you said extended dick.
I think when we saw the trailer for American Vandal, I think, Kevin, you and I had the same reaction, which is like, how can they possibly do 8 episodes about this topic? But can we just like talk about the dick joke and just get it out of the way? Because there's a lot of dick in the first episode of this podcast. Laura, when you watched episode 1 of American Vandal, what did you think you'd gotten into?
I was like, oh God, what is this? Is this like geared towards like teenage kids? And I'm watching like some kind of like, it just, there was a lot of peen. But I had to bring that up, Kevin. I've been waiting.
A lot of painted peen.
There was a lot of discussion about the specifics of the painted peen. So I wasn't sure where this was going. I was like, is this just going to be like dumb dick jokes the whole time? It wasn't, thankfully, but that's kind of when we started. I was like, here we go. This is going to be dumb.
Now, before we move on from the dick jokes, Toby, you are a serious scholarly author of a well-regarded, well-reviewed series of books. But come on, dicks are funny, right?
I was watching it with my son, and we were laughing so hard.
Same.
He's in college. It's cool.
We were watching with our kids too, and they're in high school. And it was hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because dicks are funny, right, Toby?
And ball hairs, and the whole.
The ball hairs are different.
The computer reenactment of the hand job.
Oh my God! There were so many things.
Well, but that's like, let's talk about that now, because the show quickly pivots from a series of quick dick jokes and ball hair jokes to a really great satire that uses every single visual and storytelling and plot trope we have seen and consumed. Like, our whole job on this podcast is to watch and review media, and they basically lampoon and use every single aspect of that media in this show. So, Toby, what were some of your favorite aspects of this show that did just that?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and the drone footage on like a clear day of the school,
Hanover High School.
They do a whole thing about timing a drive, and there's a phone call, and the timing of the phone call is really critical.
The Nisha call, yes.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of like little nod and wink things that you don't have to have seen Serial or Making a Murderer to enjoy it, but there's a lot of sort of like inside joke type stuff.
I was really taken back because really how young this genre is.
Right.
I think maybe, halfway through the first or second episode, it really hit me that I'm seeing every single cliche that we have created. And it didn't take a long time for this to become cliche.
Yeah, you're not talking about like the true crime that existed before Serial. You're talking about the takes itself very seriously true crime that has existed after Serial.
Yes, yeah.
The earnest true crime.
Yeah.
The new, like, the jinx.
But Toby's right, the drone shots, and then like the slow pans and trucks and
into the principal's office.
Of the empty office, and like the where the scene happened, and then all the animation recreation of timelines, and like the hand job and the spraying of the dicks and whatnot. All of those things were just used. I mean, I just really think it was brilliant, and it really captured the essence of what we like and what is kind of, at this point, surprisingly hackneyed about this genre, including us.
I know, and I still kind of, a big part of me still likes that stuff.
Oh, but yes.
And it was used just so perfectly. One of the things that struck me about this show was they did use that all-white reenactment animation that we've seen in so many things, in different iterations. I think the Jinx used a lot of that reenactment animation. We see it a lot on like Dateline, NBC, it's sort of like if the person is standing here, then this has, and it's sort of just like trying to show you clinically. But they used it in the most like absurd and awesome situations. As Laura mentioned, there was the hand job scene, but then there was also like the scene at the party where they were looking at they were actually analyzing the different quick like cell phone video angles that the kids could possibly have taken to capture a conversation that may not have been relevant, and they would just pop to the animation, and then they would do a thing where they would like slow down the audio to make it clear what they said. And that was another trope, like that it was like trope upon trope upon trope, and one of those is like slowing down audio and then just interpreting what they said and putting like words over it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's what he said, when you're like, I can't hear that. Like, it was really just so good. Now, Laura, one of the things that also struck me was that this is also a show about high schoolers. And they, I think, did an admirable job showing high schoolers and telling a story about high schoolers. Do you agree with me?
That was something I was thinking about as I was watching this. You know, I don't have a high schooler yet. I have an almost middle schooler. But as I was watching the actors in this that are obviously, you know, the scene is the high school, I feel like it was pretty accurate. And I feel like because we were on Netflix, we were a little more uncensored maybe in terms of the things they were able to do. Like they had their big bongs out, and like they have like, you know, we have the stoner crowd and dynamics with the boyfriends and the girlfriends and the hookup lists and like, oh, I can't believe she hooked up with him. But I felt like a lot of that sort of background narrative that was going on as they were solving the great mystery here, it felt authentic to me. I felt like they did a pretty good job.
It didn't feel scripted.
No.
I felt like that
individual scenes didn't feel scripted.
Yeah, I felt like maybe they gave them like talking points and they improv'd and hit like a certain bunch of things, but it felt so real.
Peter Maldonado, the protagonist, the Sarah Koenig of the show.
I think our daughter like walked in like we were on episode 4 or something and started watching it, and like 10 minutes in, it had to ask, is this real? Is this really about what you did?
She hadn't seen all the dicks part, so
yeah. because it was, you could tell when something is scripted. It felt real.
Now, there were
great job for young actors to do that.
Yeah, and there were also, I think, a lot of subtextual and very subversive takes on other things around pop culture and teenage portrayal. One of them, I'm just going to let Toby rail against because I know he didn't like it, and I actually did. So, Toby, you sent me a note, and it was a one-sentence note. The Chinese exchange student was a terrible decision. Go, Toby. Why'd you send me that note?
Well, unless it was supposed to be lampooning like the 80s, and I'm not going to be able to remember all of it, but like Long Duck Dong was in one of those 80s high school movies.
Yeah, the 16 Candles, Toby. Come on.
Like, what?
16 Candles, Toby. Come on.
I get
no more Yankee on my wanky.
But this is really kind of depressing.
Cheap, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like the naive Chinese exchange student who, like, people like sort of love in a condescending way, who wants to party with American girls and stuff. And it seemed like kind of a false note in this one.
Now, I think you were blind to the layer there that he was not actually Chinese. Well, he was Chinese descent, but he was Canadian.
Well, he was Canadian, yeah.
And I actually think it was exactly the first thing you said. I think it was supposed to be shows like this and films like this always have this character. American media is, for some reason, still really comfortable making fun of Asians and really comfortable making fun of fat people. Like, that is a thing that has been written about so many places. I'm literally not making it up. And I think that is what they were doing here with that character. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I just thought it was a really smart show. And maybe I didn't want to think that wasn't an ironic statement. I don't know.
You know, like you bring up like fat people or whatever. I mean, there were certainly like the kids who Dylan hung out with were not like sort of the classic
attractive,
you know, right. And for whatever reason, I think the fact that they were just sort of cool, normal people who were stoners, who were his buddies, that felt a little bit different to me than this Chinese Canadian exchange student who they forced to drink so many beers that he like dies essentially for a few minutes or a few seconds.
Now, I want to talk about what to me was the shocking twist in this show.
In the penises?
which is that it turned into a real mystery that I ended up really caring about.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
Yes.
Part of that is because of their portrayal of the politics of high school and the adults who work in high schools, right? They have the teacher.
Oh, the teachers.
They have, and they sort of make a joke out of it initially, but then it sort of gets more layered. And then they really kind of get into, and this, by the way, now that we have 3 high schoolers, one of whom I think is actually somebody who is been subject to this, there is actually profiling that goes on in high schools. We were just talking about this at dinner tonight, where there are kids that if they're thought of as troublemakers, all of the kids could be doing something, and like those specific troublemaker kids will be the ones who get in trouble, while like the honor student kids will get a pass. That actually happens.
Yeah, if you're a known dick drawer.
Exactly. Yeah. So they take this known dick drawer thing where it's a joke, like he's stupid, he's always getting in trouble, he's this, and they actually successfully turn it into a real mystery that somehow, as a viewer, I ended up caring about. Kevin, was I alone in that?
No, I found myself, I was surprised that I actually cared about the mystery part of it, because everything else was just so ludicrous.
And funny.
Right. I mean, this is just satire. I mean, I think that's probably what made it so funny, made it so good, is that it actually had, by accident or not,
it was not by accident.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been by accident.
I mean, what kept driving like all the funny action and stuff is that like they kept unraveling things, and all of a sudden there's like, well, is there doubt? Maybe he actually did do it, and then like maybe it's this, and we have a clue. There's with the can of paint. Unlike real life, where a lot of times you don't get those twists and turns and the timing isn't quite right, they're able to make that happen in this fictional world, which. I laughed at Dylan, so I guess I cared for him.
I did. Dylan was awesome.
Yeah, but I was surprised I actually cared about the mystery.
And the actor who plays Dylan is awesome. He really is so good. Laura, the other thing that happens in the show that I really loved is they get into a point where it becomes about the meta of the show. This fake documentary that this fictional high schooler is making about this ridiculous dick mystery goes viral. And then we have a whole episode about the meta, about what it means when a crime becomes popular and people start weighing in.
Yes, that part was I had fun with that. The kid who's like, "Hey, yeah, I'm the lunch kid, and I'm the one who likes the lunches," and they were all interviewing all the kids about their newfound popularity because they had appeared in this documentary. It was ridiculous, but it kind of rang true. And then when it was getting shut down after it went viral, that was also a part that, I definitely got invested in, as they were, secretly recording and taping with their cell phones in their pockets. And I was like, oh, this is getting very Cloak and Dagger now. Yeah, it was great. And the mystery too. I mean, for me as well, I definitely did get sucked into that mystery. And I really was still guessing each time, an episode would end. They did a good job at really leaving you with that final twist before the next episode, so that you started to really question where things were going.
Now, Toby, I'm going to start with you. This is the time in the show where we tell our listeners if they should check something out. I think we've all tipped our hand. In addition to giving your thumbs up or thumbs down of American Vandal, I would just love to sort of kind of get your feelings about it. How did you feel about how you feel about this show? So thumbs up or thumbs down, and then how do you feel about doing that?
I would give it a thumbs up, with a caveat that if you're not going to find dick jokes funny,
don't bother.
You gotta have to put up with a lot of shit to get to the other stuff. But if you do like dick jokes, then you're golden. I don't know. I thought it was really smart. I thought it also. It did, in kind of a smart way, kind of nod towards some of the issues that come up with these kinds of true crime things. They seem to spend more time on sort of the collateral damage to people who are sort of peripheral to the investigation.
Yes, and the victims.
Than anything else. I thought that was good. I thought there was an interesting thing when the teacher was Miss Shapiro. Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever the Spanish teacher. Yeah. She says, "I was wrong about that crime, but I'm not wrong about you." Again, that seemed like sort of a smart summing up on, I think, a lot of stuff that's gone on in the true crime media that we've reviewed. I thought it was really good. It was smart. Yeah, thumbs up.
Laura Bricker, what about you? What's your review, and how do you feel about your review?
My review is thumbs up, and Patrick, I feel good about that thumbs up, and I feel good about it because I cleaned my house last weekend and binged listening to True Crime Obsessed, and I want Patrick to review this now so that I can hear him give the play-by-play reaction to watching this. I give a thumbs up, even if you're not somebody that's familiar with all of the other true crime documentaries and podcasts that have come before now. It's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's light, and it's smart, and it was something that I looked forward to watching, and it was definitely different than a lot of things we'd watched. So I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm giving it a strenuous thumbs up, and I'm surprised that I am, because I thought when I saw the trailer for this that it would be funny for 20 minutes and then tedious. And it was hilarious for 20 minutes and then smarter and smarter and smarter. I actually want to watch it again because I got so much subtext and there was so much going on that I wonder about all the things that I probably missed along the way. The brilliance of the use of all the tropes. There were references to the Keepers in this show, and the Keepers was probably being made when this show was being made. So they probably went back and did some final editing. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was just fantastic. I loved everything about it. I give it a strong thumbs up, and I'm proud of that thumbs up. And like Laura, I would love to hear our friend Patrick Hines talk about it on True Crime Obsessed. Kevin, what about you?
I don't think they actually made a reference to the Keepers. I think that they made a reference to a kind of story that the Keepers just moved into that space.
Super earnest, right? Earnest AF.
Right, well, because it seems like all of these producers are using sort of the same visual techniques and storytelling techniques.
It's like a playbook for true crime, right?
And sometimes people do it really well, and sometimes people don't, which is what we talk about all the time.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
Remember when The Matrix came out and it was like, holy shit, this is amazing with the 360 cam. And then you saw it everywhere.
Or wire fighting after a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes.
Everybody was doing that. Yeah.
Yes, and this but it's hitting at exactly the right time to actually lampoon it in a way that is so good.
Yeah, I give it thumbs up, way up, as Roger would say. It's way up because it's not a spoof. It's not farcical. It's satirical. And it's if you are into any of the stuff that we've talked about and you're willing to kind of take a deep breath and sort of let all of that wash over you, you will see the meta. You will see beyond just this silly story, which is good and intriguing.
I want Robbie Trotter to watch it.
And then get down into all of these other things that you realize that you've been entertained by.
Right.
But by how much of it has been subpar or has been derivative.
Right.
And still, you can still walk away saying, I love true crime. It's funny. This just picked up on a lot of the things.
It's making fun of you. At the same time, it's making fun of the true crime. It's making fun of you for loving it in a way that makes you feel good about loving it.
It brings the audience in, and everybody's hashtag. Everybody's got an opinion who
drew the dicks.
Who the Vandal was, and then the web shows about people talking about episode 4. It's that's us, guys. That's the crime writers right there on YouTube. Thumbs way up.
The friendship is sharing deal.
Because I want one of your McNuggets.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
There's a deal for everyone at McDonald's. Get one favorite 10-piece chicken McNuggets, a Quarter Pounder, or a Big Mac, and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Wow, Kevin, that was really great. I really do like going back and listening to our old episodes. It's fun to hear us banter and, you know, how funny we thought we were at the moment. Toby, man, he's real cynical.
And all those name drops that you made.
Yeah, like anvils, left and right.
Left and right.
One of my favorite activities, dropping names. Don't wear them out. So, Kevin, you know what we're talking about next time?
Yeah, we're going to be back with a full episode, and we're going to be talking about the podcast, The Thing, about Helen and Olga.
The Thing? What about them?
from Dateline NBC. And also, we're going to be talking about the Hulu true crime documentary, The Curse of Von Dutch.
Wow, like the hats?
Yeah, like I had to tell you what that was. Don't be like,
Don't I sound smart?
Yeah, you sound smart. Wicked smart.
Can I just make one quick thing?
Sure, it's your show.
I just want to thank everyone in our Facebook group. Please join our podcast Facebook group if you haven't. People there are wonderful. There's so many smart, awesome pop culture conversations going on and conversations about this podcast. I love it when you point out the mistakes we make. I love it when you point out the things you love. And I really do love it when the conversations get deep, because they do. And, there's some really good ones going on right there. So go on over right now, search on Facebook for Crime Writers On, and join our group. We will let you in. So that's going to do it for this classic rewind. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at Reb Lavoie. Kevin, how can people follow you?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can also follow the show on Twitter at Crime Writers On, and join our group. The show was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, otherwise known as Studio C, The Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we keep dozens of photographs of spray-painted dicks to compare, which do or do not have ball hair.
Ball hair, it's different.
On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another True Crime Review.
Partners in Crime Media.
The friendship is sharing deal.
Because I want one of your McNuggets.
And I need some of your Quarter Pounder.
There's a deal for everyone at McDonald's. Get one favorite like 10-piece chicken McNuggets, a Quarter Pounder, or a Big Mac, and get another for just $1. Price and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.